Throughout history, many nations have suffered a physical defeat, but that has never marked the end of a nation. But when a nation has become the victim of a psychological defeat, then that marks the end of a nation. Islam is under obligation to gain power over all nations. The Berbers belong to a powerful, formidable, and numerous people, a true people like so many others the world has seen, like the Arabs, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. Sedentary culture is the goal of civilization. It means the end of its lifespan and brings about its corruption. The government is an institution that prevents injustice other than such as it commits itself. The past resembles the future more than one drop of water resembles another. Government decisions are as a rule unjust, because pure justice is found only in the legal caliphate that lasted only a short while. The knowledge that has not come down to us is larger than the knowledge that has. People justify their own subservience to pleasure by citing men and women of the past who allegedly did the same things they are doing. In the case of all human qualities, the extremes are reprehensible, and the middle road is praiseworthy. No one can stand up against the authority of truth, and the evil of falsehood is to be fought with enlightening speculation. Happiness and profit are achieved mostly by people who are obsequious and use flattery. Such character disposition is one of the reasons for happiness. History, therefore, is firmly rooted in philosophy. It deserves to be accounted a branch of philosophy. Muhammad said, "Every infant is born in the natural state. It is his parents who make him a Jew or a Christian or a heathen." Man is the child of customs, not the child of his ancestors. Habits are qualities of the soul. Geometry enlightens the intellect and sets one's mind right. All of its proofs are very clear and orderly. It is hardly possible for errors to enter into geometrical reasoning, because it is well arranged and orderly. Thus, the mind that constantly applies itself to geometry is not likely to fall into error. In this convenient way, the person who knows geometry acquires intelligence. When incentive to acquire and obtain property is gone, people no longer make efforts to acquire any. Those who infringe upon property rights commit an injustice. If this occurs repeatedly, all incentives to cultural enterprise are destroyed and they cease utterly to make an effort. This leads to destruction and ruin of civilization. The term of life of a dynasty does not normally exceed 3 generations. For in the first generation are still preserved the characteristic features of rough, uncivilized rural life, such as hard conditions of life, courage, ferocity, and partnership in authority. Therefore the strength of the asabiya is maintained. If the soul is impartial in receiving information, it devotes to that information the share of critical investigation the information deserves, and its truth or untruth thus becomes clear. However, if the soul is infected with partisanship for a particular opinion or sect, it accepts without a moment's hesitation the information that is agreeable to it. Prejudice and partisanship obscure the critical faculty and preclude critical investigation. The result is that falsehoods are accepted and transmitted. Eventually, Aristotle appeared among the Greeks. He improved the methods of logic and systematized its problems and details. He assigned to logic its proper place as the first philosophical discipline and the introduction to philosophy. Therefore he is called the first teacher. The sciences of only one nation, the Greeks, have come down to us, because they were translated through Al-Mamun's efforts. He was successful in this direction because he had many translators at his disposal and spent much money in this connection. The purpose of human beings is not only their worldly welfare. This entire world is trifling and futile. It ends in death and annihilation. The purpose of human beings is their religion, which leads them to happiness in the other world. Injustice can be committed only by persons who cannot be touched, only by persons who have power and authority. It should be known that history is a discipline that has a great number of approaches. Only tribes held together by a group feeling can survive in a desert. Harshness in education pushes children to lie, causing them to act in contradiction to their true selves, fearing punishment and control. In civilization, there is a limit that cannot be overstepped. When prosperity and luxury come to a people, they are followed by excessive consumption and extravagance, with which the human soul itself is undermined, both in its worldly well-being and in its spiritual life. History was an endless cycle of flowering and decay, with no evolution or progress except for that from primitive to civilized society. The purpose of human beings is not only their worldly welfare, this entire world is trifling and futile. It ends in death and annihilation. History is a prelude to the future, understanding it is the key to navigating the complexities of the present. Knowledge is the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance, seek it relentlessly. The strongest among you is the one who controls his desires and ambitions. Patience is the key to enduring hardships, it is the forge where character is tempered. Empires crumble when they forget the lessons of humility and gratitude.